Hello. Getting itself. Brilliant. Okay, welcome back. It's been a long month. We've had a week in it, and lots going on. So I'm going to start with the contract as usual. Just in case we've got any new people, I'll just quickly flick through it so everyone can keep themselves safe. So I'm a counsellor. I'm qualified as a person-centred counsellor, and I've done a lot of trauma work training and all sorts of other things, Asperger's and autism. And look on my statement of intent; it's got all my qualifications on there and all professional development that I've been interested in. While I'm your counsellor, or not your counsellor, I'm here doing the support group. I can't keep you safe, so I need you to be your autonomous self and knowing how to keep yourself safe within what we're talking about. Keep your triggers safe and allow yourself to take breaks if you need to, or come back and watch it some other time. And also get in touch if you want any content going over, or you have anything that wants unpacking and things like that. So just see how it goes. So I'm person-centered. Person-centeredness is about the client being the governing body on who they are. They know they are the intelligent person, they are the educated person, and I'm not here to tell them anything. So everyone is their own personal guru. They just have to find the right environment to access that material. And quite often that material is hidden behind conditions of worth, projections, discrimination, stigma, trauma, cognitions, disabilities, mental health, experience, life that's going on, other people's lives that are impacting yours, all sorts of things. So we can be bogged down under lots of other things, not finding ourselves. So really what my role is in counselling, and also I feel what I'm trying to do here, is create an environment where everyone gets safe enough to unpack a bit, and for us to sort of, work things out and see whether we can find some gold and spread the news. So let's see how we go anyway. So anything I say isn't a projection, isn't I'm the know-it-all on this particular subject, or any subject, in fact. I've forgotten more than I know. So I am just here to try and make an environment where we can do it. And so, you can lead me away and you can let me know what content you want to happen. I've got my phone on, so you can contact through Twitter and on Autonomy Council, at Autonomy Council, Bay Brown, and on our Projectsnowball Facebook page. But I've not got that, and I probably would get that, but I'll have to just keep checking. So anything that leaves my lips doesn't become valid and precious until someone goes, oh yeah, that does make sense to me. So I'm trying to be quite broad and trying to include as many people as possible. So I'm not being specific at all, but sometimes I'm just to try and get a point across. I'm not saying this is the be all and end all of this topic. It's just to describe something or make a point or show process or unpack or say it in a different way. So, people have different brains. Some people have a really logical brain, or a really scientific brain, or they have a really empathic brain, or a heart. They use their stomach brain, which everyone says is their second brain, but really it's your first. It's the first to respond. Then your brain catches up, try and make sense of what it is. But really, this is what's going on. So you guys, not me. I'm just hosting. Okay. The session's owned by you. You don't really need to know that. Just come as you want, leave as you want, watch it later. contact in between, do what you need to do, and I'll do what I need to do too. Take a sip of juice. Done the You Are the Educated. Person-centeredness is mainly about, as they call them, first of all, unconditional positive regard, which I like to call kindness unconditional, just because, you know, why not? So that is about saying, if you're turning up, turn it up. That deserves credit. And like, don't expect everything all day. Just be kind to yourself, knowing that you're trying hard. And every human, not just human, every living thing, every living particle has the actualization process to try and survive, to try and be better than its original form. So we're all evolving, and we all have our personal struggles, and we can get a bit brave and share them and see what we can work out together, because none of us has got this all worked out. You know, some of us have got some of it worked out enough to come across as if, yeah, we've got this boat show going, but you know, it all hits the fan for every person. So it's just about how you live in that. And our family don't have a zero activity rate on shit hitting the fan. We have shit hit the fan. But then we view it differently. We think, right, let's see what Brown family or Simon and Faye need to do this time, get your wellies on, you know, and see what we get out of this. And we love learning and growing and you know, being a family who's working it out together and we're all equal. There is no one trying to catch up. Everyone is being represented and being respected in that. So it's not awful. It's lovely, even when it is shit in the fan, or it is, you know, you can have terrible trauma and have it so looked after and empathized with and made such a beautiful space that it just becomes this wonderful healing or something wonderful out of it. And lost my train of thought. Anyway, you can gain something on about that, whatever that was. So unconditional kindness. So give yourself permission to say, pat on the back, I'm turning up, I'm going to give this a go, and I'm going to keep giving this a go. You know, I'm going to try and actualize my potential, and we will get to it because I've got that at the top of my list, the stigma and discrimination. But you have such valid, beautiful potential. Well, in all the people that I have got to know, and even the spiky ones, have so much intelligence. You know, intimidating amounts of intelligence, so clever on all sorts of things, and they can just get something going, you know, just in night. Oh, that thing broke down or got taken away from us, so we'll just, you know, make this new thing. Just, oh, here it is, fully functioning, working computer stuff. Whereas I've had to wait until some really lovely person has offered to give our charity, you know, some free work to make this lovely website. So we're getting there. We're coming up to the 2018, you know, slowly but surely. So give yourself a break. Everyone give yourself a break. Like, we're all trying hard and in a real tide of shit. So let everyone else's treatment of us stay in their work to do. That's their work to do. Work is to potentialize and to make difference and to make safety and to find learning and to share and to be brave and to be warriors to get survivor maps together. So let's rise above and show what we're really made of, which isn't joining them in their, you know, diatribe of hate. It's kind of ignoring it and letting them fight with themselves so that we can get on with the real work. And then we don't have to be blamed for everything anymore, because you're the guys that are getting blocked all the time because you're the ones that are spreading hate and you know, having suicide baiting and all that awful stuff. So unconditional kindness, you're turning up, you're being brave. You deserve a gold star every day for that. So let's be kind. Let's make this new environment that we will be kind to ourselves, each other, and every person that wants to turn up to this, because in their own little way, they've found their way here, and we must invite and embrace and say welcome, and be intrigued of their journey here, and listen and be empathic. The second one is congruence. So that's a real authentic honouring. I know it's really hard to be brave when your whole life can be taken away from you because of a thought and a feeling. Any action that you have been culpable for and gone through the justice system with. So it's a lifetime stigma. So it's hard to be brave with it, but there's a whole group of people that are increasingly becoming brave and putting their head above the parapet. So I want you to draw on that and say we're being brave for a reason, because we want to make difference, and we want to create a new landscape where all survivors get to be survivors and cherished for the journey that they took to get here, and all warriors against actions of inhumanity are respected and championed because of their efforts, no matter how they were born or what experience they had that affected their cognitive connection with sexuality and self. So draw on that, see if you can, and we'll go from there. But really think of it as like, I'm going to try and be as transparent and honest and open and brave as I possibly can. And I'm not, because I'm working like that, I'm not thinking and being manipulative, and I'm not, working out what I'm going to say and all these different things. I'm just being present. So I'm not sure, because we're not on Facebook this time, because Facebook we had an ongoing little people could chitter chatter, but we haven't got that this time. So we'll see how it goes. And the last one is empathy. Well, not the last one. Core conditions is empathy. So empathy isn't about sympathy. Isn't about I knew that. I've gone through that before. That's like not even sympathy. That's just you both walking away feeling like you didn't get heard. So empathy is about you knowing yourself well enough, and not just knowing, but having a relationship with that, so that you can not only self on an intelligent level, you can then communicate that to another in an emotionally intelligent way that they can then receive. So you need to be able to describe that in a lot of different ways, so a lot of different brains can understand that. So that's number one. Number two, you've got to be able to go, I know myself so well, and I'm that centered that even if a bit of me comes in the room, it's not its room. It's here because my client, my audience, the person I'm speaking to in this way has a need for something, and I think this might show it in some way, or open it up in some way, or be an offering to, hey, is this something like it? So that you're offering something of understanding. I'm reflecting with you in a way that says, is this it? I don't know, but from what you've said and what I'm feeling and seeing from your micro movements and your facial expression and your body connection, all those different things, and your words, all the words you're not saying, I'm getting this idea from you. So if I bring that into the room, it's for you. It's not for me to be heard. It's not for me to say, oh, I know that, here's mine. It's to say, does this help explain that? Have I got it right by saying this? Do I understand yours? So once you've been able to do that, then you have to then be able to make a space that says, I'm going to make an unjudged, unequivocal you space. I'm going to make it safe. I'm going to try and show you can trust me. and you will take that or not, and all I can do is be. And sometimes it takes time, and other times they just know it from the moment they read the thing. I'm the lady. So, everyone's different. Taking trust, empathy. So you are putting yourself enough in the room that you're being met. I'm being present, I'm being real, I'm being authentic, I'm witnessing myself, I'm Faye, I'm not being anyone else, I'm not putting a coat on going, hello, how are you today? I am being a person, but I am holding myself as malleable to that person coming in. So whatever needs to come out will come out because it's presented, not because I'm sitting here thinking, oh, we'll use this tonight. It will just viscerally come with whoever's here, and I'll either get it right or I won't. But in the moment of, oh, it's not that, but that makes me feel like it's probably this then. So it always, I'm free enough to be able to be wrong, and I welcome that. I'm just saying stuff because I've read, a good load of books, and I've done, a good load of courses, and I've got a bit of knowledge that's hanging on in there in my memory. So if something clicks, I'll offer it, and if it's shit, we'll put it in the bin. Or shit for this particular thing, we'll put it in the bin, and we might find another with the more we understand it. But sometimes in the exploration, it can make it more, oh, we're going on an exploration, we're going on a way of finding out, we're going on a journey, and it's not scary to just go, I just said this thing. Oh God, saying that out loud makes me feel this. Oh, I've got to put that away now. Then we can start meeting some things that feel shy or feel awkward or feel scary. We can then visit them in a way that says, we're just visiting it. We're not making any firm statements of action. We're just unpacking and making something safe. So when I get to the point where I'm able to reflect, offer, paraphrase, offer something back that says, I've really worked hard, not worked hard, I've made a space to hear you, and this is what I've heard. Is it something like that? Then they get the opportunity to say, yeah, but, or, oh my God, you've connected to my soul, or, that's exactly it, or whatever it is. So then you get that feedback. That is when you achieve empathy. So everything before then is just your work to do to get to that point of empathy. And you've also got to be brave enough to go, oh God, precious, like empathy is precious. But also, yeehaw, let's do this. Let's not feel held in by this, got to be precious. Let's not feel caged by this, I've got to be earnest. And you've got to be free enough to be you and represent who you are. Otherwise, how can you help someone else become their full self? I'm not trying to make loads of versions of Faye Brown, God forbid. I'm trying to make everyone find their version of themselves that says, I'm fully represented now, so wherever I go, whatever I'm in, I'm there. And I know what bits of me to come together to get through this moment really well, instead of flailing in the wind. So that's those three things, and they're real core. And this is not a putting a cloak on, I go into my counselling room. This is we live this. Started off, I was just this sort of person. Then I did this load of courses, and then I got my degree, and then I did a few more courses, and then I wrote a book and became really, really passionate. And then I did loads in our marriage and, with our children and all these different things. But now it's the way we are. We are a person-centered family. We have a person-centered marriage. I have a person-centered sex life. I am a person-centered being. And I am a person-centered counsellor that uses all sorts of little techniques. I think, I wonder if this might, you can give it a go if you want. Not today, but sometime. Pop that over there, just in the ether. So I've got a load of little things like that. But I am person-centered being. So it's not something I'm doing. It's not a manipulative thing. It's very principled. It's not strategic. There's two words: principled, or that'll come to me later. So I really want to be here with you. So I'm really trying to just be open, present, and go with the flow with it. So contact if you want any difference in this session. So expectations of the client. We're not here to fix you. We're not here to make things better. Better doesn't exist. Life goes on. Shit hit the fan. Kids fall over. People get sacked. People die. Babies come out of nowhere. Just all sorts of stuff happens. Traumas, incidents, experiences. Hey, boo boo. Do you want to come and do? Come on then. Not on me though, because my back's very sore tonight. Okay. What's up? Look there. This way. Hi. Yeah. Right. So expectations. Yeah. So we're not getting you better. What we're doing is saying this is who you are, or this is where you're at. So either one, you're either born this way, which you didn't choose. Like, geez, I am who I am, or you've had a certain set of things happen that have built up to a cognition that does ding ding. Oh God, didn't expect that. So either way, you're not responsible for being bad. You have a thing to live with, and we want to make it that you can and are allowed, and we'll hopefully get to the stigma and that sort of stuff, and we'll reduce that and all these things. But for now, let's just work on becoming our fullest self and being allowed to say, I am a developing person and I'm allowed to fulfill my potential and be safe and be invested in and have something that's cared for in its struggle, not chased after with, no, we'll get to that later. So expectations, your best version of self with whatever you've got to live with. And I've got to live with a whole load of shit, but it's my best version of that shit. I've got a baggage to carry around, but now I respect it and I can communicate it and I can make boundaries and I can keep it safe and I can, take care of it. It's not a big bad thing anymore. It's just, part of who I am and what I have to take care of, and I will respect that. So, complaints and queries. My governing body is the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy. So, if you are in a support group with me, or your interaction with me, or we're in a counselling session, we'll do Skype counselling, they're your governing body too. Hurrah, welcome. So if you have any queries, any questions, want to go and have a look at our ethics, our code of ethics, all sorts of things. They've got loads of different stuff. Find a counsellor in your area, find different genres of counselling, all sorts of information, loads of great stuff, and they're a really good governing body. They really care. And they're really forward thinking as well. So, we might end up doing some work with them. So go to them if you have any worries, complaints, queries, whatever. But if you can come to me, do, because it's a real opportunity to work on something. And I won't have ever purposely tried to offend, hurt, or make a unbeneficial movement towards something. I deeply care about humanity and person-centered living and being my best available self. But I am only a human, and also I'm a pretty crappy one. Okay, so I've got dyslexia. I'm on tablets that affect my memory and the way I am. I've got bipolar, or cyclic depression with manic episode. I've got a fractured spine that, it's hurting today, so I'm a bit. It hurts every day, but it's affecting me today. So usually I can put it in the background. I can get into a level where we're dissociated, because I have dissociation too, so sometimes it works for me. It's quite handy sometimes to have a bit of dissociation, because I can get through all my chiropody work. And it's not only towards the end where it's like, oh, we're getting towards the end, we're allowed to feel this pain, or I'm allowed to feel that I've got a full bladder and it's like actually hurting now. And then I'm like, oh, need a wee, or oh God, my back hurts. And it can't be just suddenly, but it's because I've switched off before then. So, you know, dissociation is a good thing sometimes, but quite a lot of the time it's a bit detrimental. So I've got a whole load of crap to live with. And it's the way I live with it now. They're all fine. They're all wonderful things. And even myself as a person is pretty in a constant movement of configuration. But I'm friends with all the parts now, and we all talk to each other in a community that keeps me as a whole safe. So even though you know, it's fine. I mean, I would like my complex PTSD symptoms and all the fainting and the fitting to be helped by the eye movement desensitization reprogramming that I'm having at the moment, or hopefully will have at the moment. We're just doing prep for it. But we'll see, hopefully. And then if I do get that, they'll be able to put injections in my spine again, which will help numb it and reduce my pain, which will then hopefully give me a little bit of pain relief, so I'm a little bit more myself again. But you know, we'll see, because it'll either, as she says, it'll either just not work because my brain is saying no, we're not going there, or it will work really well and we'll get the amygdala stuff out and we'll put it in the prefrontal cortex and have what I have, but it won't affect me in the same way. Or it could, you know, really affect the way I'm configured, and I could have a full, you know, episode again. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I'm a human being, so I can get it wrong and do. But I can own it, and we can unpack it, and we can use it as, you know, dialogue, and really show, you know, I've really hurt someone recently by this misrepresentation of something, or whatever it is, my clumsy use of language, or I don't know, anything, any foot in mouth syndrome, whatever. We can then be brave with it and go, and then that's how we connect. We say, gosh, we're just humans getting our feelings hurt, and we're just people trying really hard to get a sense of self and belonging that just gets trampled on by people. And even the person that, you know, is meant to be on our side is getting it wrong too. You know, we're allowed to be human, and I'm allowed to get it wrong, and you're allowed to be cross with me. So it's all fine, okay? Blah, blah, blah. Confidentiality. Everything is confidential. I do occasionally find it a little bit difficult on Twitter when you have that back and forth, and then there's DMing and private messaging and all that. And if someone brings something up in public, I think it's public knowledge and I might repeat it, but then because they said it in private, they think I'm going against confidence, which I'm not. I'm quite careful about it, but again, also, you know, you can trip up when you're sort of working like this. But there's a lot of teenagers, and this is their forum and their connection zone. So, you know, it's the least I can do is to be a little bit uncomfortable on Twitter when they are being bloody warriors, standing up and saying, you know, I've got this thing, and I want to work with someone, I want to have some connection, I want to, you know, have some support, or get some counselling, or do some unpacking, or whatever. So the confidentiality, obviously this is live, and I'm just speaking that, so nothing I say is confidential, but anything you send to me will be used confidentially. So I'm not going to say, so-and-so from so-and-so has asked me this question. I'm just going to say, I've had this question, and here's a few answers to it. It can't be too specific, obviously, because, you know, there's a billion people. Well, maybe not a billion, but there's a lot of people who have either paedophilia or infantophilia. I don't know what the infant one is. So you keep yourself safe. I will keep you safe. Come to me if I ever get near the line, or if I ever cross it indeed, please do. Supervision. I have supervision monthly or more. And it's there that I unpack self, process, client, all these things that I'm doing, so that I can keep, as I said at the beginning, in terms of empathy, myself a whole being that I can go, hey, I'm going to get this bit out to show you. It's not going to get mixed up with yours because I know it's mine, and now I'm going to pop it back in and know where it came from or know how I'm using it. And it's not because, oh, I need to get this out and show it to someone. It's because, oh, I think getting this out might help you understand that from a slightly different angle, and then it'll be, oh, totally different scenario, and then I can connect with it. So it's more like that. So when I go to supervision, I am trying to be, well, not trying, I am. Me and my supervisor are really, we've been working together a really long time, and we're so safe, it's unbelievable. So we get into the nitty gritty and get deep down. So it's really good stuff. So if I do take something to supervision or someone to supervision, I will tell that person, oh, I unpacked you in supervision, and this is what we gleaned from it. And we'll work out what was, well, that was obviously irrelevant, we'll pop that in the bin. And what was, oh gosh, your supervisor's a clever one, isn't she? So we'll do a pat on the back. Note taking. I don't take notes. I don't want notes, and I don't need notes. I don't read notes that come from other people when I get referrals before I've seen the person. I might read it a little bit after I've seen them, maybe once or twice. So I've got a good idea of who they are before someone else's non-them version. So I don't like to keep someone to, 7 months ago I wrote this. Like, first of all, I wrote it, so pinch of salt, anyone. And that's any counsellor, because it's just your perspective of that situation. I always have a little chuckle when I'm reading these books with, they call them, then the word goes out my head, vignettes, and then it comes back. They're called vignettes, and they show you they're meant to show you a little thing in a counselling session. And I always read them thinking, that sounds too counsellor to be what they truly said. I can't believe that's your version of it. Yeah. So why stick to that when actually if I stay present and be with that person, and if we work out that something's a pattern, then we've done that through their and our belonging together, rather than my education outside of the room coming back and going, right, I think I've worked you out. Ugh. So, I don't need or want notes. But a few of my clients like notes. I always say, if you're the sort of person that leaves a room and thinks, oh, I wish I'd written that down, or oh, what was that thing she said again, or whatever, then we can make notes either throughout, and then they've got to accept how I make notes, because I'm a little bit of a, oh, but that goes here, and oh, but let me just join that to that bit because that will make sense. And they go home and think, oh, what the fuck have you done here? But it's a picturescape. I'm making a picture of a person, not doing a linear line of who you are. It has to interweave. So the more they see it that way, the more they can then picture themselves as a fully interweavable, configured 10-dimensional person. So if they want notes, we take them, and then they take them home. And if they want to put them directly in the bin, or share them with someone else, or write them in a lovely notebook, or keep them as, our counselling session works of art, whatever they want to do it. Bring them back to another session and we'll unpack them, whatever. That's their prerogative at that point. They own that. I don't ever want to be the owner of them. I want them to come in, have this space, and then gradually take it home with them, and then live with it at home and inside themselves. So the fact that they'd be in a drawer with me having, come up with all these really clever things about them, ugh, I don't want to do that. So I don't. But if you want to, you totally do it, and send them. If you want to send something that I can anonymize, and we can use it as a case study. I have got a couple of people that have sent a couple of things. And if you want to do that and not be used, or use is a horrible word, feature in an anonymous way, then do that as well, because you don't have to be featured. Just say, this is who I am, but I don't want to be featured on the thing. And I will absolutely respect that, but also really love to hear from you, because, you know, yeah, oh, and I'm not scared. So I want to get to know you on a deeper level. Contact out session. If, and it's, you know, it's very rare, I've only had it happen a couple of times. I meet anyone out of the session, I just ignore them unless they come up to me, because this is their privacy, and if they want to go and tell someone, that's up to them. I'm not going to come up and say hey, and I'm not going to go home and feel upset that they didn't say hey. If on the other hand they do want to say hey, I'm all there. If they get flustered and say I'm their hairdresser, that's all cool too. I won't take that personally, because, you know, this is private. So all's good in the hood. Cancellation. I will not cancel unless something major is happening, or really ill in some way, but I have to be pretty ill to not turn up. So I will be here with bells on, and hopefully this will go somewhere. We've got quite a few views of our last session, so hopefully people are tuning in and starting to understand what we're doing, and maybe get a bit more brave as we go on, and we can start having more interaction and building this into what we want it to be. So, going to have a little drink. So I've written some notes, only because we've got so much content. Thank you so much for everyone that has got in touch. I'm going to start off with stigma, discrimination, suicide baiting, and I've written it as batting, and I'm sure I've done that quite a few times. Never mind. Suicide baiting, suicidality, depression, anxiety, OCD, and human rights. Wow, big topics. So, the thing about ignorance is some people are entitled to their ignorance. Some people have no desire or need, it has to be said, to change that ignorance. And really to spend your energy there, and that's all the way you've got to think about it. Am I going to spend myself, in someone that doesn't deserve me because they don't want to? They are ignorant and entitled to it. So is this my boundary to make, in that I don't use myself in that way, and I don't expend my energy in that way, so that then therefore I have more energy to expend in places and parts I thought that was something for us, but it's not. Entitlement. So if you give yourself permission to elevate above this, so as soon as anything happens where, and there's quite a few on Twitter and other forums where they are sort of vigilante groups, and their sole purpose is to be what you'd call a troll, and to make hate and to spread vile projections onto what is quite a young community. I mean, I think a lot of people see paedophiles as if they're this sort of dirty old man persona, but the majority into contact are young and really, really lovely, really young and lovely, and it's not your work. So if we were able to say that actually these online groups that group together, they're not just one person, they are a group of people with an agenda, which is we are going to spread hate, and they get taken down constantly because they're breaking the rules of Twitter. And interestingly, all the maps and the pedophiles, all these other people that are being, really decent human beings, aren't getting not blocked, kicked off. So that shows the level of their hate, because you don't get away with a great deal on on, you can get away with quite a lot on Twitter. So you have to be pretty hateful to get your page closed down. So it's about creating a boundary and saying, if I'm ever allowed to become a human being in society's terms, then I've got to stop getting down in the gutter with the people that would bait us down there or goad us into it. So we have to actually lead them there. And it's hard at first because you're having to ignore really tactless, thoughtless, offensive, really atrocious stuff and really baiting stuff. And it really, a lot of it is really sought after. They put a lot of effort and work into doing this stuff. And it's hard to ignore, really is. And it's hard to sort of block them. And I found that quite a few people are saying, if we don't keep them busy, then they are coming into contact with younger teenagers and young adults and actual children. And these people haven't got to the point where they are safe enough to be steered away from "you should die." They could be convinced that that's the only option, and that's really scary because these are just children with something really scary to deal with all on their own in a tidal wave of constant hate. So that's really upsetting. So what we need to do is say, the first thing is, we don't get down in the gutter anymore. We elevate. We say that that's not where we deserve to play, and you cannot lure us into that so that we can be the dirty gutter people anymore. We're not doing that anymore, and we're vital people, and we're really good at stuff. And I hate to project and make a sweeping statement, so I'm going to keep this like smallish, but I have noticed some kind of correlation between the spectrum of neurotypicality and atypicality, where there's something where there's a brain. My brain works like this, that sort of difference. And if you are isolated and find it hard to socialize, and you are with this thing on your own that you can't talk to anyone, and even if you go to a counsellor, everyone else is allowed to go to a counsellor, but you can't, because you'll get dobbed in and that's the end of your life. Because this isn't just you did something, this is you are something, even if you didn't do something. This is real end of life stuff when people get in on you. So I get it that it's really hard to be brave in these situations, but actually to level up with human beings and say, we don't deserve to live in the gutter, and we don't deserve to live with repetitive sex offenders. That's not who we are, and just because they exist and so do we doesn't mean we are the same. We're really very different people, so we're not going to get pushed into the gutter anymore. We're going to elevate, and we're going to say, I don't belong there, and this is discriminatory and stigmatizing for you to push me back there, and I won't tolerate it. Or ignore them, really, is the best way, because then you expend no energy whatsoever. Ignore and block, because they will show themselves. They will show themselves, even within their own group, that, oh, they're getting a bit racist, oh, they're getting a bit sexist, oh, they're getting a bit something, oh, you're just a bit stigmatized, aren't you? Not just about this, just about everything. And they will back away because, oh, but we were just stigmatized about them. You're not allowed to be stigmatized about all the others. And we don't want to play that game. We don't want to fall into that trap. So I want you to say to yourself, ignorance is not my work to do. Tolerance, education, spreading the word, showing myself as a vital person that's got value to give, correcting things in a really empathic way that understands, you know, I get it, but can I just, because this is really just a really easy thing to not to, like, you know, understand better. And if they don't want to, end of story. Mute them, block them. You cannot educate ignorance. You cannot educate hate. That is a wanted thing, because that's the thing about education. If you're in the room listening, you can't help but be educated. You have to specifically say, I don't have to listen to that. I'm above science, neuroscience, biology, fact, research. I'm above. You know, this isn't paedophiles that have come aboard with all this. This is masters in their own area of science who are saying this. You know, all of these facts and research responses to paedophilia, and it's, you know, it's present where it is in the brain and all that sort of stuff. We're allowed to say we're going to elevate, and then it's ours to boundary and maintain. That's our work, yes, very much. Get on with that work. Put your boundaries up, maintain them, but don't be offensive with them. Don't be on the offence. I'm allowed to be safe, so I'm going to remove myself from this conversation. That allows the other to show that they are being offensive. And I'm not going to waste my time being defensive, because hate is not something that I can defend. I have to walk away. You don't have to tolerate that. And that gives your body time to readjust. It gives your body an expectation that my host, my Faye Brown, the person, is going to keep this body safe. She will not put me in situations that are going to cause trauma or have offence done to me. And if that does start, she'll remove me quick smart. And so it's about your body, i.e. your first brain, your stomach, and your amygdala, trusting you enough to take care of you. Now, if you keep putting them in the line of fire and dancing with that and almost goading sometimes and trolling the trolls and having this whole awful banter on social media, that is what you're absorbing into yourself. That is what you're letting out into the universe. You cannot come across as this other thing if that's all that comes forward in the first place. It doesn't work. All you will be seen is A, the stigma and the discrimination, because, you know, paedophile, and B, rubbish paedophile at that, because spiky and a bit bolshy and a bit too clever for their own good and a bit proud and a bit this and a bit that and a bit the other. You know, you're not allowed to be people yet. We are becoming human first, so that the person can be celebrated, because they realise, oh, that is a real rubbish thing to live with. I'm sorry I was a bit shit with that all this time. I'm going to start looking after you, and can we just like tend to that a little bit? And yeah, we have been quite offensive, and we're going to do some work on that. You cannot come in with a full-on attack, because that will engage their amygdala, and they've got rights to their amygdala because you're dirty paedophiles. And not just rights, they've got the whole of society telling them that they're right. We've just got a one tiny faction of a group of people that are saying, look, this is different. So we can't prove difference by being same. We've got to be different. So if we can own that and make that our work, rather than chasing trolls and keeping them busy, we will actually get somewhere, because at the moment we're just putting out fires nowhere. It's really hard work. I'm almost giving up on Twitter, actually. I think it's too much of a anonymous playground, and because it's anonymous, it's quite, people are very detached from what they're saying. They don't realise that that is actually a human being on the other side, and what I'm writing here is going to then represent me. as well. So this side. So not only what you're going to do to the other, but also how you're representing yourself. And when you're doing a campaign and you represent yourself badly, you're bringing down your own campaign, and you're affecting your own agenda, because other people are seeing your personality, which is defensive and outright, and you know, getting your own entitlements, because, you know, I get it, everyone's sick and tired of being branded, but you can't come out opposing that with a different branding. It's like, you can't come out guns blazing and fighting and we're going to brand you. That will just create a war, and you've got too many people against you, so that's not ever gonna end well. So the key is to remain human, is to be vulnerable, is to boundary self in the engagements you are going to go into, so you be all of you, rather than a triggered part, or an entitled part, or a defensive part, or an offensive part, or an angry part, or whatever, so that you're using your full brain. If it ever gets where, you know, I will take social media breaks because I'm not using the full brain, particularly around my period, because of hormones. You know, some days you wake up and you're just not yourself, and your whole voice changes, and your whole demeanour changes, and you know, I find my husband really funny, like 3 and a bit weeks of the month, and then there's other few days. What do you mean by that then? Well, what are you saying? Well, why did you say that? It's like it's the opposite, and I'm all of a sudden taking everything he says seriously, which is not my husband. But you know, it's just hormones, and we're both allowed to accept that. And the moment that starts, I go, oh, we're at the point you're not allowed to joke with me anymore for a few days, and we do that for a few days, and then it all comes back. So we navigate it now, because I'm allowed to have hormones in the same way that he's allowed to have hormones. You know, he's allowed to be a man who, when he gets stressed, gets boofy, you know, and I don't need to take it personally. It's not about me. He just gets a bit loud and bumps around, and I'll either be able to help, or I'll just keep out of the way, because you can just get on with being you, and I don't need to take that personally unless I can help, in which case I will, but I don't need to be around, you know, getting in your way while you're working on your own emotions and hormones. So make an external boundary that says, I have an internal value. We're not going to prove our value to other people by bumping into conversations and getting involved with fights and nitpicking and you know, who's more entitled than who, because we're all entitled. Every one of us is a valid human being. Some people lose their entitlement for a time, and then get branded with a different boundaries around them because of what their actions that they've had and what justice they've received on that, or what do you call it? You know, when you go to prison, the thing. Can't think of the word. So I've lost my train of thought now, trying to think of the word. External boundary. Keep yourself safe, and don't engage in lowering the tone, because we're already starting in the lowest tone that people can utter. So we don't need to add to that by going into the tone, which is very quick. They are very entitled to be really graphically offensive. And not that anyone gets, that I've seen, too graphically offensive back, but it's just the engagement with it. You cannot help but become a worse and worse version of self, because you're engaging with that shit. You're going to end up covered in shit, and then whatever you're touching gets covered in shit. You can't help it. It's not you being a bad person. It's just when you engage with shit, that's all that ends up. Everything's covered in shit. So stop engaging with shit. First boundary to stopping discrimination. We're not going to play with it. We're going to boundary it. You're not allowed to behave like that. So as soon as it happens, report it. So stigma and discrimination. I feel like this is about gentle education and kind education. So we've got to put on our empathy boots and say, I'm trying to teach someone something about something that they find abhorrent. I mean, viscerally. Talking about it can create physical pain in people. That's how somatic their memory is. It is a really tough subject. So we're asking them to be big girls and boys and get brave and allow us to look at this in an emotionally intelligent way and a research and science-based educated way. So that's going to come across all sorts of entitled. And we can't help that, have the facts and figures that we do. But we can address how we present them. And we will create a lot more friends by inviting them to a tea party than we will inviting them to a hammer and nails party. Let's all get everyone on the crosses and see who can be the biggest martyr. Let's all nail everyone to the cross because they deserve to be there. Let's all, fight with each other in these most aggressive terms and get more and more in the gutter with our agenda, which, can we remind ourselves, is children. Everyone is saying that's their main agenda. So can we get in the room with children? They don't want all of this fighting and bitching, and it's unhelpful to anything. So let's get gentle and kind and be with these people that we're teaching as we would be with children, because they're learning something and growing something really painful. They can't help but be viscerally repugnated by it because they have a different brain from you. And if we present that with all of these other things that come across as aggressive or prickly or entitled or what you're trying to hide or manipulative or agendered or secreted in some way, they're going to get their amygdalas up, and then they're going to attack, and then you're going to get your amygdalas up, and then you're going to get defensive or attack or whatever. So we want to get clever about how we navigate this from now on. And if someone doesn't want to receive something kindly, then you disengage. Not only because their ignorance is not yours, it's not your work to do, but also you don't deserve to be in that environment. When are you going to stop putting yourself and your value into that environment? I know some have a very valiant warriordom where they're going to go and keep them busy so that they're not affecting younger people and people that are, really struggling with staying alive with this awful thing that they have inside them that they're, affected by really terribly internally, not physically doing something, but actually, oh God, this gradual dawning that I'm not carrying on being attracted to my peers. I'm leaving my attraction behind further and further, and then realizing what this is and how everyone feels about it. And oh my God, ow. In your teenage years and your adolescence and your early adulthood, geez, well, I remember it really well in my own way, that fear of self, that I was going to kill myself because no way could I live that life and be that person and fear it forever. So that's a really tough thing to live with already, as well as know is majoritatively hateful, as well as go and seek out some hate to just get a bath in. Oh, please stop doing that to your beautiful little selves and come into some sunshine and let's make something that, you know, we don't tolerate that here. Mute, block, so that people realize we're having intelligent conversation, we're having factual conversation, we're having kind and empathic conversation. And I've noticed that as well. Some will come along with a really entitled, valid core wound that is hurting by the very being near you, even in you know, interweb land. And then they gradually get round the sense that this is, and then they gradually put their stigma aside and their discrimination and their hate and this, that, and the other, and you know, it happens. And then some little boats in the sea are holding passengers that say, hey, here's a lifeboat, get in here for a while. I get it. So we're getting to the point where we can, but we're going to undo all that if we keep doing this other thing. So can you stop picking that scab and let it heal? Block, mute, block, mute. We don't engage. We're doing something else. And we've got to prize that. We cannot have anyone else prize our value until we prize it. This is our wonderful, shiny thing, and you will not piss and poo all over it. You're not allowed anymore. There are rules, and that's not fair. So, gentle and kind education of people that want to hear. Boundaries, mute and blocking of those that don't. Waste of energy. And also not fair on what you're trying to make. You're trying to become a person, a human, a life, someone that struggles less and evolves with it. Not into any physical thing, but something that lives with it in a well-being way. And that's not ever going to happen if you keep taking your body into a whole pile of shit, rolling around in it, and then going home lamenting all night on why you can smell shit in the air. But stop doing it, okay? So, or you know, carry on and then smell of shit, because you know that's what you get. So start elevating if you can. If you can empathize with where their start point is, which is the mid, they can't help but be, I use this term kindly, but dumb amygdalas, because when fight or flight kicks in, because we're not raised as living creatures to listen to our first brain, our stomach. We don't, in fact, we're teenagers, and I'm seeing a lot of teenagers, because the world that they're inheriting, the world that they've grown up in, which is digitalized, and they are on all the time in this persona that they have to then prove, and then they get this life that is just like, ugh. They've then got to engage in it, and what planet's running out, the bloody social and society and the world and humanity, where's that? You know, they fall out of safety with everything, and they become very depressed. So we've got to understand that the people that we're working with, or we're trying to accommodate, make some belonging with, because they're not bad people. They're great people. You're not bad people. It's just everyone is working from their own, and everyone's amygdala works differently. You know, some people, when we say fight, it's not about, well, some people will physically fight, but it's about engagement. I've got to stay here until we sort this out. We've got to talk this through. No, you will not leave. I cannot go to bed thinking about this. Fight. We've got to stay and sort it out. Flight is about, I am losing myself in this, and if I stay and be here, you're just going to have something. So scared. I am so in my back brain, and they need to leave. And they like laugh or snigger or roll their eyes or do something really outrageous, because their body is so desperate to get out of here, because they are so diminished by this experience that they need to fly, and they're being held. So knowing your actual F for your amygdala. There's 5 or 6 of them. Freeze is another one. So some people can just be like deer in the headlights. And, you know, especially if you have a child like that, when first of all you think you're just having this engaging thing, and then all of a sudden you think, oh, I'm like really talking on you or at you or bullying you or, you know, projecting, and you've got to like rein yourself in and wind your brass neck in because they've just frozen. It's not because they're sitting there intently listening to everything you're saying. Something is going to happen. Flopping, that's my one, where you flop out of the situation, and it doesn't always happen physically. It can happen viscerally, where you dissociate. So you get into a different part of self. You become a different persona or a different role to deal with this situation. You put your feelings to one side and become a robot. You detach from your body so it doesn't hurt. So then you become quite factual and displaced and a bit cold, but actually it's not because you really are, it's because your feelings are all the way over there, so you don't have to feel them right now because, oh, this is all a bit scary. Then there's friend as well. So some people will, and I think this is where some pro-contact paedophiles can get the wrong idea, because they think a child's friend response, which is, I just got to try and get out of this, and I'll just be your best friend because, you know, I don't know what the fuck is going on here and I'm scared. So I'll just do whatever you think is whatever I think you want me to do. Yeah, that's the greatest thing on the planet right now. Because that's all they know. And that can come across as consent or a positive affirmation of this contact, when actually it's a fear response. And you just don't understand that. So knowing who your, I don't want to call them opposition or opponent, because this is something that we want to belong to, this societal stigma, knowing that where it's coming from, the fear base of it, you can navigate it better, because then you just see them as a dumb animal. And I don't mean that offensively, I mean that in a fear response. And also with children, when they're not dumb animals either, but when you see them responding with their amygdala and you get good at seeing that, you just want to take care, unless you're on a psychopathic scale, in which case, you know, that's a whole nother show. But seeing them trying to just be safe creates a visceral nurturing response. So if you get good at knowing that, you can deal with people better. You don't take their fight, flight, fear, flop friend or any other personally. You just go, oh, they're one of those. I'll leave them to calm down and then I'll send them a DM. Or, oh, listen, I just scared you off and I'm going to back off now, because the last thing I want to do is come across you know, defensive or offensive. I thought we were having a conversation and my bad. So that we can sort of lead with our most human aspects, instead of coming across as one part of our brain, which is both our most, it's very intelligent because it does keep us safe, or if you engage with it and have an instinct response with it. Or it can just like waste your whole life because it tells you false alarm systems, because your brain has learnt this and now it responds like that, and now we know this and I can't unchange that, and blah blah blah, and that's the habit, and this is what we do every time we feel that. And instead of healing a core wound and then growing as a person, we pick at that scab and become entitled to it because this is our scab and I've earned that scar and I will project. So understand who you're trying to engage with, and then engage empathically. So first of all, with self, I will not put myself in work that is not, that's just covering myself in shit. And B, I will see where I am and this person is. And if I understand the 5 Fs, I can navigate that better and keep our agenda elevated into something that can equate to something meaningful, something that can grow, instead of us stamping out our whole crop every day because, you know, everyone's responding with their amygdalas and booming all over the place, and then, you know, nothing lasts in that environment. So know who they are, know who you are, have your own internal evaluation of self. If you know this is who I am, you know, when I did my own fighting internal struggle with what is this thing going on inside me and what does it mean, who I am and who am I, should I say, and the projections upon self that is, and restrictions that I should live by because I have this fear. When I was working through all that, coming to terms with my internal value was really hard because I was projected upon as bad and evil and wrong and in the same way that you are. So coming to terms with a valued self doesn't come from visiting shit every day. It comes from boundarying from shit. It comes from elevating and saying, this is what I put myself in now, and this is how far I will work with someone until I say no more. And I will, you know, block and mute and report and not engage. So when you get to that point where you start valuing this internal environment that you're building up, which starts becoming a safe body, oh, it feels nice to be treated like this, self. Would you keep that up, please? Because it's quite nice to be able to become something that's of value, that I keep valuable by not covering it in shit every day. Thanks for doing that now. I really like it. Would you carry on doing that for me? Because I have to say I didn't enjoy that daily bath of shit that you kept giving me, and then the scrub off afterwards, and then sit and feel like I still smell of shit. You know, that all impregnates your ability to be self, your version of self, your value of self, your self-identity. You cannot help but absorb those things. So please stay out of them because you deserve to not be in them. And start growing your internal valuation point and then staying there. I know my value. I don't have to prove it, don't have to earn it, I don't have to do anything. What I'm doing is being here, knowing I am, doing my work, sending out these little that are well thought out. Every person that has an amazing website with the most beautiful humour. I really love their sense of humour, but in person it's so prickly, so prickly. So something happens in the writing where they relax into their version of self, and then they really are themselves, who I'd really love to meet. By the time they come to this instant version of self that's had their day and they have to deal with this shit all day, they are naturally a little bit bloody prickly. Not that I've met them in person, but in a version of self over Twitter or in DM or in email or whatever. You meet this prickly and no judgment. Of course you're prickly at the end of the day because, God, look what you've been wading through every day. But then that makes me lament on this beautiful person that comes to their website that never gets to be. Well, gets to be in their website, but never gets to be in person because they've gone and taken a shit bath. So, I don't know. Anyway, find this value and then keep it sacred and then make boundaries around what other people are allowed to do around it. That builds up a respect. Their ability to grow doesn't have to affect mine. You are allowed to leave someone behind and visit them. You know, that's all right. Everyone grows at different rates. No one is being kept on the outside of anything. Everyone's allowed to be here in their own way of growing, but they have to keep themselves safe. You're not allowed to tear down the whole thing just because you're not ready. You're allowed to go, whoa, I need a weekend off, or I need to just go and do some reading, or I need to stay here for a while. I might not catch you up, but, you know, I I'm on the journey. I'll be following up. Don't you worry. So that everyone doesn't get my version, my version. No, there's as many versions as there are people on the planet, and we have to respect that. So no one's getting dragged along, and no one's getting pushed, and no one's getting, you know, anything predicted or expected of them. We just want turning up. That's all. And if you can't turn up, then go and be safe, and then communicate. Care for it. You know, don't chuck mud from the outside because you're entitled to. So allow people to get stuck and don't take it personally, especially with core wounds, because that's hard growth. You know, everyone has their own entitlement to growth, but they don't have that entitlement to project that or make other people stay there with them in that growth. Everyone is allowed to allow their own unique way of growing, as long as they're being respectful around others. You know, privacy, private growing. Knock yourselves out. Growing with your partners and in your family where you make it your way. You've got 4 people and a dog, and we're pretty much this is pretty much just yummy. Me and my husband, yeah, you know, outside, I'll be careful with it. I'll be precious with it. It will be, this is a perfect point to make with the Jahari window. Where are you, Jahari? Right there, slipping through. So, Jahari window. Oh, so if you think about yourself as a pane of glass, a window of glass, and I'm just going to lean because I'm finding it really hard to stand today. And your most accepted self is your open window. In there, there's a guy sat on the windowsill. It's a stick man because, you know, I'm creative, but I'm not an artist, so I can only do stick man. So he's waving, hi guys, this is my most social part. This is my safest self. This is my accepted bit. This is the bit that, you know, I've got a really, really dark sense of humour that I mostly only get out with and I blame myself, and that's just a joke. So I'm careful with who I joke with, and that's a respect for other people because they're not as dark as me, and that's fine. So my joking bit is down here behind my curtain. Unless you want to see a full naked version of Faye Brown, because I don't hide myself. I will accommodate social safety, social respect, people's comfort levels. We can't use certain words, and we can't project things, and we can't be certain things around children, or, you know, it's not fair to project our adult self when, you know, we're at a tea party. So certain things are valid in certain ways, and other things only come out in specific environments. So we've got our fully open self. Then we've got our blocked up window. This is our blacked out window. Now that's because there's something shameful hiding behind it. It's just because we don't know what's behind it. And it's just about saying, yeah, I don't know my full self until I'm on my deathbed. And then I'll be like, oh, that was a disappointment. No, it won't be really. So our full self is forever growing, and you don't know who you are at the end of the day, let alone in 10 years' time, let alone at the end of your life, in your autumn years. So chill and just learn to respect yourself and witness yourself enough to trust that when you get there, you'll represent who I am in 10 years. I'll be there, and I'll be who I am in this moment now, because I can trust that I'll be there real. So this blacked out window is about just being allowed to have things evolve and not be scared. You know, we're not static, we're not one-dimensional. We're as many dimensions as we choose to go on an expedition for. So get brave. Then we've got our reflective plane. So this might be mirrored or really shiny or whatever. And in there, that's what we learn of ourselves from other people. And children are the biggest reflections, because you can't help but, like, one of them will come out with something, you'll think, oh shit, that comes from me. I better stop doing that around them, because you realise, oh, that's a little bit something. Or they'll say something and you'll think, they got that little mannerism from me, and that's such a lovely thing. I love that. Or, you know, they'll remind you of granddad, or they'll, you know, something will pop out where you'll gain something of yourself through them. Or a friend. You know, you don't know that you're hysterical until you're in a room full of people that think you're really funny. God, who knew? Who knew I was so funny until I'm around people that get me? So until someone finds you deeply interesting, you might think you're as boring as hell. You're just with the wrong crowd. So this is about receiving reflections, but keeping them there so that they're not, we make sure they're not projections. We make sure someone's not chucking off their horrible because I don't want to work. We want their hours, and when we'll let them live around, you know, on the windowsill at first before we take them into our actual body. So, you know, your own children, if you have them, you tend to have to trust that, because they're just so, like, they're just sponges, and they copy, and if they come out with something, you know that you've got some work to do. Either because celebrate, because wow, we have rubbed off on our children and look how wonderful they are. And you know, my children used to argue with each other in such a lovely, polite, oh, you're really getting on my nerves right now, I'd like to leave my room please, and just give me some space, would you? And it was like, oh, I feel really proud, because they're, you know, they're respecting each other, and they're communicating their feelings, and they're allowed to be cross, but you know, they're not behaving it, they're communicating it. And or then they'd say something really awful, and I think, oh shit, oh, that was me, sorry, you mustn't talk like that, guys, because that's out of context, and I meant it like this, and that's a bad word, or a naughty word, or that's a word that actually means this, but I wasn't using it like that, so I've got to explain myself, or put myself on the naughty step like I used to, because, you know, this isn't a punishment, this is a place to reflect on self. And so, you know, I'm a human being and I get it wrong too, so I'll go and reflect as well. This isn't a kid thing, this is a person thing, and we all have to reflect. So then we get to our curtain thing, and this is about our vulnerable, our naked, our visceral, our private, our unsafe, our new, our special, our earned. Not everyone gets this. This is the super stuff behind the curtain, and you've got to get a VIP pass to that. And some people, they don't have on the jihadi. They feel behind the curtain. Any old person's allowed to come behind the curtain, because I've always been used and abused, and I don't have boundaries or values, or feel myself in those terms. So anyone can come in and use and abuse me, and they're never safe. So they never get to blossom as a human being, because you can't grow into a beautiful flower that's blossoming. Someone is constantly taking and breaking and trying and using, acting onto you. This is my need and you're not. We want Jahari if someone earns that. And if we think about how we, because a particular, oh, it just went off connection, but now we're back. It's very windy here. We're having a windstorm. As everyone knows, because it's a hurricane everywhere else, so stating the obvious there for you. So if we're, God, I can't remember what I was saying, the private window, earning that space. Oh yes. So we are giving across something that usually quite private, intimate conversation. This is my particular, and it's quite a private one, and it's and I'm putting this out for everyone to see, and I'm putting it in very big, loads of blogs, this, that, and the other. So we're on an incredibly private, that's also really taboo, and also viscerally offensive. So you've got to understand we're educating you. Tough one. And personally, that people are finding that tough. We mustn't take that personally because it is tough. You know, you found it tough to come to terms with. People are themselves finding it tough to come to terms with. I found it tough to come to terms with. It's tough to come to terms with. It's a tough topic. So if we have that empathy that says, we're opening the curtains for this really tough topic and letting you into my absolute, usually very private goings on, so that you can understand and accept me a bit more. That's a hard journey to take. So we've got to be gentle. We've got to tread lightly. We've got to be empathic, and we've got to be kind to the situation, because we can understand that, yeah, this is a fearful thing. I was scared of it as well when I first realised it, but I've lived this many years and know that I'm not going to, and you don't have to be scared of me, but I get it, you are. That's going to take a minute. So if we come in that realm, then that is more able to be received and worked with. So then you get to the point where you can say, you're shining above, you've elevated, and now you're able to shine, and you're working through your blog posts, your websites, your the speaky ones, you know, the voice, I can't think what it's called, but you know, I listen to podcasts, your all these different things that really represent in a non-amygdala way. This is your time to do this, and it's in your real voice, and it truly represents you, and it comes across beautiful. And then you go and do the, and then that's all that's heard. All of this effort turns to shit, because that's what we're going to do with it. We're going to put all of this lovely us, self, brave, everything, and then go, ego shit pile, do what you want with that. And then judge how it comes back, and then get all of defended and offended, and then that's what we're doing again. So out of the gutter, let your stuff shine, because you're going to shine irrespective of the shadow they cast. If you keep stepping aside of their shadow, if you keep stepping on top of something so you elevate above it, they cast a pretty big shadow, they do. But if we stay towards the edge, it's only one step. If we get right into the nitty-gritty, well, God, then you're there, and you've chosen to be there, and there comes, nothing grows there. So if you're going to get right down there, you've got to be really safe, have done a lot of work on self, and have a lot of skills and techniques and equipment in place to keep yourself safe there. But even then, like, don't live there. You know, you need respite. If you're going to do that end of the work, that is tough. So you've got to zone out as often as possible. Otherwise, you're going to have a breakdown. Basically, you cannot maintain a good version of self in trauma, or in a pile of shit, or stigma, or discrimination. You will end up being your worst version of self, because you cannot use a human body that way and expect it to carry on turning up for you. It's not fair. You're not a robot. And just because you can dissociate, or you are maybe on the Asperger's scale, so you have ability to separate head from body, doesn't mean you don't have one. We've got to work really hard to stay connected. And the more I read and listen and watch of all your stuff, the more I feel sad that the only thing that comes across is fucking paedophiles being entitled to trying to, push their agenda and blah, blah. And I just, that's really it's so unfair, because it doesn't represent that work at all. And that's just because you're coming across as amygdalas, because you're engaging with amygdalas, and the worst kind, because they're entitled. If they're coming in a conversation and their amygdala gets triggered, whoa, what's that? Because I was just making a wide point and I realised that was a little bit too detailed or whatever, la la la. But people that come in with an amygdala and they're going to have one and they're allowed it, and fuck you, go and hang yourself. Report, mute, block, out. We're only engaging with this work. So then you can start building up respect. Anyone to respect, you're getting down in the shit every day. If you go and get in the shit every day, that's all they're going to expect of you. You're just, you're as bad as they are, basically. So we want to find respect by respectfully. And the more respectfully we treat ourselves, and the more we represent that respect, the greater the respect we will have to be given, because you're not allowed to hate on people. And that's why people are getting chucked off Twitter, because they are outright hating. So if we elevate to be respectful of ourselves, then we will earn that respect. And people that are emotionally intelligent or academically intelligent will then hear, because the louder thing isn't happening anymore. They're blocked and muted, and everyone can see that they're being really offensive now to people that aren't even engaging with them. So we're not listening to that anymore. We're listening to this. Oh, that really was a good article. I never really got to that before, because everything you said here was so fucking prickly. I didn't want to read it. So we start changing the landscape of what we're working in, not to their rhetoric, but to ours. Hey, we're really, we're really communicative. We're really safe. We're really vital. We're really creative. We've got loads of stuff to give. We're really valuable if you just let us. We might hold the key to curing cancer or something if you just let us actualize, instead of being, the scumbags of the earth who deserve nothing more than to go and commit suicide. So make boundaries and practice those statements. And it might be that you write down a whole load of things that say, when I'm in this situation, that's a good statement. That's the one I use for that. So one I like to use is when someone's being really clever, or think they are being really clever, but actually being really offensive, I'll say, oh, wow, gosh, that sounds like you've been to a lot of personal development. How many counselling sessions have you been to then? And of course, it's usually none, because they've done no self-development, because they're entitled to be themselves without any growth whatsoever. And then, oh, so what are you basing all this knowledge on? And then it becomes about them, and they get a lot less bullshit, because they've got no knowledge. They've done no work. They're just pulling down yours. And if you engage in that, then you become a fight. I don't need to prove my work. I know it. I've done it. If you don't want to talk in that way, then I don't need to talk about it. I'm not selling anything. If you want to turn up, I will give it to you. I will give it to you. I'm a book. Quick plug. Person by Faye Brown. So you can either get in touch with me if you can't afford 10 quid or 10 in your country. An increasing charity which will offer education in autonomy and self-governing and personal development, but also one-to-one counselling for anyone struggling with paedophilia or growth of self and all of them. But either way, it's a bite-sized book to get into the person-centered living, so you can start creating that safety, those statements, those boundaries that say for where we're taking somewhere we end up. And our representation of self. No one will ever get to your work, which is where your thoughtful self is, if you're here being prickly or defensive or offensive or entitled or coming across in a certain way because I don't like that. I don't need to read that anymore. If all we do is present this in a really loving way, they can't help but end up shutting up or reading it. So lovingly share and keep precious our meaning. So we want to allow it to be, we're going to hold this precious and make the boundary that you do too, because we know it is precious, and we know you've got to get there. You don't know it's precious yet. It's fine. It's okay that you don't realise we're precious. But in the meantime, we're carrying on being precious, and one day you're going to value us, and we might be the key to sort of understand this whole topic, because you stop doing research on convicted sex offenders and you start actually making people safe to go and have confidential counselling and maybe confidential research on non-offenders that really are living with something, and the ways they do, and their brain map and MRIs and all those sort of things, and the attraction thing and all those sort of things. So let's do that. So if you have been in that environment for a long time and you've gotten to the point of suicidality, feeling so, or self-identity is so down that you are contemplating suicide, planning suicide, anything like that, the first thing to do is notice. I'm doing right, really low. That means that I need to be super boundary with what I put myself in, what I seek out, what work I do in the next few weeks. I need to find someone that is safe, that I'm able to share with, that I'm able to say, I'm feeling this right now. Excuse me. There's quite a few places that are offering support, and some places offering counselling for people really struggling. I'll probably put it in at the end of the thing, but a few of them: stopso.org, verped.org, lucyfaithful.org.uk, jesushouse.org.uk. That's a lovely, gentle site. The Blue Angel Association, that's ange-bleu.com. Theconversation.com, the Prostasia Foundation, the preventionproject.org, primary prevention, CSA primaryprevention.org, to name but a few, as well as our website coming soon, Project Snowball, as well as the Twitter. Put questions at the end of the YouTube, on Facebook, email me, write to me, anything you want. But there's a lot of support and genuine kindness out there. So do not sit with suicidality on your own. And that's not to say that you don't have the right to take your life. I believe everyone's right to take their life if they're making a decision from a full self, that's received all the nurturing that they can, and now it is just is, and I don't want to live with that. Like, I'm not going to live with Alzheimer's. I don't want to relive my childhood. I don't want to be regressed to one part of my brain that just is scared all the time that people are going to take me from my bed. I don't want. So if I get anywhere near that, I'm off to Switzerland or wherever it is that euthanasia is given. So it's not that I don't believe in it. It's that if you're going to do something like that, it should be from your full self with a real kindness and thought, and it should be the right decision by all of you, not just the bit that's sore, or the bit that's, not just your paedophile self that wants to die because everyone hates it. Well, what if you've got, all this other life to have, and if we just sort of cared for that, then all these would be really valid, and you'd really want them again, wouldn't you? Surely. Well, yeah, but like this thing, well, then we want to make safety that, so it doesn't either become I'm suicidal or I'm going to go and do something because I'm the worst version of self. So contact someone. There is suicidation questionnaires that you can take that can tell you where you are on the scale. I've laminated mine so that you can fill it in. No one has to be held to it. It's just a quick thing so we can tot it up and understand how serious is this? Where are we? Let's take a good proper look at it and understand it, because I live with a suicidal part. I've got a very functioning suicidal part that really can't believe the rest of me still wants to be here. After 41 years, are you crazy, woman? Goodness me, how much life does one woman want? But yeah, the rest of me really does want to live still. So we look after that bit. And whenever it's talking, we really listen, because you're real too. And just because you're the minority of me doesn't mean that you're not valid. You're very valid. And if you speak loudly, then everyone, gets one answer. So we're going to listen to you. So I want you to start being noticeable, and noticing yourself as a human body that will be validated in all your feelings. I've made this first dating. I'm a little bit crafty, don't you know? So I like to represent things. And so I made this tin of stuff. And if I ever get into that suicidal place, and since I've made it, I've never been there, so I've not used it yet. But it's there. It reminds me, and it's got all these little things in that remind me how far I've come and what I have looked after, and what to visit. Oh, don't go and kill yourself. Maybe it's this little thing that needs looking after. Like, good way to overreact, woman. So I've got, I might just have one of these. I've got an emergency pack of candy sticks, which I practically live on. A little reminder, this I was given by a client of mine. And I've only ever worked with 2 persons plus myself who started off as not even a human. I mean, like, because I was going to be here, that's where I'm working from. They were both on the autism spectrum that created a narrowing of their permission to become who they are. They started masking and became a role, and that role, so they weren't a human either. My one client was actually in suicidation. He's become this blossoming self, person, human. I can see, and he gave this to me, and it's very how much work we've done together and how meaningful. I do really important, faithful work to people's intimacy of the mind in a personage that alone, and that is really wonderful. Don't just chuck that away just because this bit got hurt today and she just wants to chuck us all away. Like, remember who you are in the whole. I've got a little fidget spinner. I don't think I am Aspergic, but I do have Aspergic tendencies, and every time my son is going through a development thing, or a thing that's like I remember it. I remember like, oh yeah, I remember when I realised that about people, and then I had to like, oh, I'm not the same, and all that sort of stuff. So there's something in there about that. I've got a little baby's bottle that allows you to remind that you're always just a child inside. You know, you always need looking after your adult, your parental self and your child part. So there's chocolate in there, and there's loads of little photos and reminders of things that I've achieved. That, you know, we went travelling around Australia, and it's just a representation of self that says, well, you know, if you're going to give up from your whole of yourself, not just this one bit, because that wouldn't be fair, would it? So it just keeps you in the straight and narrow of your full life. So I want you to think of a PowerPoint that includes some pictures. So I'm just going to use that instead. So excuse mama out my invest in and boundary and give it safety and invest you know, and creativity, it shines and becomes this lovely thing, and then we get to sort of express it safely. So my homeostasis including things that allow me to stay my fullest version of self. I'll pay for it the next day, and I sign up to that, because every now and then I've got to pretend I haven't got a fractured spine. I've got to go out and have a dance and like fuck my back, because I'm a living thing. Get my groove on. I need to feel the music and the beat in my chest, and I want to be on that dance floor expressing myself. So yeah, I'm going to pay for it the next day, and I'm going to be moody, and I'm going to be irritable, and I'm going to be owing, and I'm going to think, oh, why did I do that to myself? And then I'm going to remember, because I've got to go out dancing at least once a year. So, you know, back, take it on the chin. I need kisses. Kisses, like, it's very important when you're in a relationship or in a belonging group that you have affection, and it doesn't lead to sex. And that kisses don't lead to sex. Kisses are of their own thing, and that's not a passionate kiss. It doesn't have to be. It can be a touch on the shoulder, a thoughtful embrace, a play with the hair, a stroke down the back, a kiss, a standing full on hug. No, I'm not going to let you go just yet, because I want to feel this hug first. And if they lead to something sexual, then you miss out on that oxytocin in a daily way, in an ongoing way. And if you don't visit that, then you lose it. So we've got to visit these things and feel like we're alive. It's more than I like it than to have a full-on pajama day. We're not going to get out. We'll clean our teeth. We'll have a quick wash, but we're staying in our pajamas and we're eating crap all day, and we're just going to watch a box set, or we're going to watch all 3 movies in the trilogy, or we're going to, you know, we're just going to veg. I like singing. I need to sing and let my voice out, and I've stopped being embarrassed that I can't sing. I just sing because, you know, sing. What's the worst that can happen? Someone's not going to like it, and you know, they only have to listen to it for a minute. So sing. Find something that produces joy in your body. Games night, call on your friends, check your mental health status, create that care, know that, right, when I'm struggling, I need this, this and this. Me and my husband sleep in separate beds during the week, because my mental health needs sleep, and I cannot be on sleeping tablets all the time. It's not good for your health. So, you know, it creates that space to have a weekend sleep together, that I can have a sleeping tablet, and then I'm not waking up irritated because I've listened to you snore all night and all week, and I'm so very tired that I'm not myself anymore. I wake up and it's like, oh, it's me and you, and it's the weekend, and we can have a cuddle, and, you know, let's have a catch up. So it's a totally different experience. So know what your homeostasis is and start representing it. Start having a proper little talk with yourself and finding out what it looks like, so that you can start buying it. Plan. This is another part of not just in suicidality, but also in your general safety, that you can say, when I notice this, when I notice that I'm feeling like this is my response plan. This is how I take care of it. I quite often put in hurt locker for people that come, especially people that come in a couple in trauma. Something's happened in the relationship and we're starting from square one and we're building a trust back up. We have a trigger plan. So if it's hurt locker one, you can get out of my sight because I'm here doing this, and why should I live my life? We'll come back to it some other time, because both of us in trigger, and we're not responding with our true self anymore. Trigger plan 2, hurt locker 2 is, I've got to run. You can deal with it. You stay behind and deal with this, so that I can go off and find myself again. Or hurt locker 3 is, we both need to get through this. How we need to make a plan to get through this, because neither of us can leave or stay. We've got, it's a child's birthday party or something, and you've just got to get it done. So we're using hurt locker 3 as right. We're using the trigger plan. So this is the code word. And finding code words for things allows you to say a lot in a very small way. So, and you can make up new language. We use hangry. We're hungry, angry. I've got to have something in my bag if we're going out for the day, because my kids and my husband get hangry. I don't. I'm dissociated from the neck down, and I have to be really painful to even realise I need a wee. So hungry, that hardly ever happens. I've got to actually physically remind myself when I'm busy to eat, because I just don't fill my stomach. So having these word processes so that you can have trigger response, then you're more able to get through your day, because you're in your day. You're not ignoring your day. You're not telling yourself to get on as a robot in your day and then judging what's left at the end of it. You're in your day. Respect yourself. Give yourself that respect, that I'm a human every day from now on. And that human deserves to be safe. Otherwise, all I'm doing is working for my amygdala, and that isn't ever really great work. It can't be. It's in your fight or flight, in your archaic response, or in your reptilian response, which is even further back, which is what I've got, where you flop. So then also communicate. Find your way of communicating so that you have a support system, you have a buddy, you have a counsellor. Work on finding a counsellor. Do the groundwork anonymously that says, I don't want a hair trigger counsellor. I don't want a knee-jerk counsellor. I'm bringing some serious stuff, and I want to know that I can trust you, that you're not going to go off gallivanting with it, that we're going to stay in the room and you're going to work with me. Find a counsellor, find a support group, find a way of expressing yourself in a safe way that isn't, putting yourself into danger and creating all that shit again. And once you start bounding off that safety and that respect, and you stop going into that zone that says, I'm now going to be suicide baited because I'm treading down this pathway and that's what they do, you don't then end up absorbing it. You have more respect than to go down that pathway. You boundary it, you report, mute, block. More value of yourself that says, I don't treat myself like that anymore and I will not allow you to. Then you get to the point of human rights. So I literally can't believe that we're at 9 o'clock and I've got 4 pages of notes to do that I thought I was going to get through tonight, and we're up to human rights, which is here. So we've got a great deal more to do. If anyone, I'm going to keep it a monthly for now because I've just got so much on. But in the future, we might get it to twice monthly, fortnightly or something, or twice a month, maybe the first and third first and third Wednesday of the month. so that we can get through a bit more content, because I'm having to explain it in a broad sense so that everyone gets their valid or their meaningful or what is relevant or relates to them. We need to be relatable for everyone. So I'm probably talking a bit too much. I'm probably over-explaining. I'm probably mansplaining, which is another new term in the dictionary. Excuse me. But I'm a bit guilty of that. But it's not because I think you're stupid. It's because I want everyone's way their brain works to be visited. You know, some people are very physical, some people are very thoughtful, some people are very visceral, some people are very, show me it 7 times and then I'll get it. Some people need it sort of put in a biological way. You know, everyone's got their own little brain, and I'm just trying to meet everyone. So I could go on. I know I'm going on over the 2 hours, but I think I might just get to the end of this page. Seems as nearly there, because the deal we're going to do how to deal with religion, self-worth, identity, self-care, the moral of being around minors, and there's all some great stuff. We're then going to get to fantasy, celebration of life, satisfying romantic relationships with adults, honoring self, affirmative consent, prevention without stigma. So I'm getting to everyone's content. Everything is precious. I just sort of naturally mapped it out this way because it's kind of made sense to go in it this way. So we will get there. I'm not ignoring anyone. So moving on, human rights. So holding firmly, we don't want to be too intellectualized with it, because that brings a fear response, which is, what are they trying to put on me? What are they trying to manipulate here? You're getting very wordy, and it's all, you're trying to push something through without me knowing, and it gets all a little bit trusting, because it's all too cerebral. If we bring it down to our heart space and connect as human beings first, so we notice, listen, I know we're in tough territory, and thank you for staying with me. And I appreciate it's hard on Twitter, because then you just get into loads and loads and loads of tweets. And I'm more of the platform for doing meaningful stuff on. But it's good for raising awareness if we keep it there. We want to do proper dialogue somewhere else, I think. But, you know, let's do our best. So being culpable and growing principally, we're not doing this in a thought I'm being intelligent with you and I'm trying to get one over you. We're doing this in I'm trying to connect with you as a human being. So if you try and move your expression to that place, and I appreciate some people will be on the neurodivergent spectrum and have a very cognitive brain and have a very formulaic way of connecting with people. That's absolutely fine. If you find your statements that bring in heart, that bring in connection, that bring in vulnerability, that create those statements, a statement that represents self from this thing, but then you don't have to always rely on this very brain mechanism that can distance you from belonging with someone. Because when I say elevate, I'm not meaning to condescend. I'm not meaning I'm above you. I'm meaning I'm not getting down into this. I'm not getting down into hate. I'm staying in human being, and this is where I'm going to connect with you. And if you don't want to connect here, then I'm not going to go. I'm just going to stay here. So when I say elevate, really what I mean is don't the opposite of elevate. I want to say escalate, but that's still elevate. Don't, you know, opposite of elevate, go down. You know, stay here, and then, you know, we'll rise everyone up into a gradual rising of, hey, we don't like hate. No one likes hate, and you know, this is the last bit of sticky hate, and everyone went. You know, all of the different things that gradually come into society's ability to accept in the terms that say you deserve to be cared for in this, not accept in terms of, hey, go out and be paedophiles on all children. It goes through a process of acceptance. So you're no different from any other stigmatized minority. It's not right, but it is a process. And it's just about humanizing self, getting your human status validated as truly valid as any other human status. Non-offenders, even offenders have human status, human rights. So, you know, we've got to stay firm in our boundaries of humanity. Be honourable, be processed and safe. So, bringing process to it, evidencing process, so that, you know, I get this is a really hard thing to get your head around. There's a few people that are really good on this, on Twitter, where they, can I link you to something, show you this, can I offer you this? And people were responding, oh, that was very human of you. And they're going to amygdala back. They can't help it. And, well, neither can you. So what I'm saying is, A, don't go down there, stay up here, but not too up here where we're getting elevated and superior. Just here, equal with everyone else. Just, you know, everyone trying to just, you know, be kind individuals that have their own little worries and fears and personal struggles to live with. And it's about allowing them to find their either survival maps, which is, I'm here with this affliction because it did well in infancy. It's pedophilia, child abuse, into the sexuality, have all grace of God go I. And if we present it in a way that says, well, you're just lucky that you were just a victim. I'm a victim and I was ended up with the worst thing on the planet as a result of it. So, and now I'm going to get all sorts of hate as well. That seems fair, doesn't it? You know, so if we bring it through as a thing that deserves care, that says, I'm allowed to have been born. They don't like this linking, because are you saying paedophilia is the same as Asperger's? Are you saying paedophilia is the same as dyslexia? Are you saying paedophilia is the same as being gay? Sorry, I put on that voice. That's my stigma voice. It's my dumb stigma voice. And I'm sure most people aren't really dumb. They're just being entitled to their core wound, which is very difficult. So I don't mean to be offensive with it. But if you start with that, I'm gonna be, that's all you're gonna ever fight with. We're either we're just born with something and we didn't ask for it. No one would ask for this, and now we're alone to deal with it on our own. Sure, if you're scared of it, we should have some kind of help and support system. But, you know, or we're exactly the same as you, left with something that no on you for being a survivor. I was left with something. I'm still left with something that is really fucking hard to navigate. I accept it. It still hurts sometimes. It's still, I mean, the thought, not reality. And it's still something that can affect me. So I think I can sympathize with my own journey of becoming unable. I can empathize with what it is to be there and just struggling without anyone that wants to help. And with something so dirty and evil be seen like that you couldn't go and ask for help. So that's really stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I feel for it. So we want to make it that actually any survivor is a survivor. And any warrior is a warrior. And if you're going to be a warrior for humanity, then you're on my team. And shame on anyone that wouldn't want you. And shame on any survivor that can't be friends with any other survivor. That is rape culture right there. That is the base of rape culture, because even survivors can't accept that kind, because we don't want to be like, I'm going to stay in human world, in humanity. And if you want to go down there, well, you go down there. I'm not going to follow. And that's not that I'm elevating above you. It means that I'm staying on, getting into the. So we don't have to drown in shit. We can just sit up and realise, oh, we lay down in the shit. Let's not lay down in the shit. Prevention and support campaigns. So this prevention and support stuff is gaining momentum, it's gaining followers, it's gaining validity, it's gaining voice, it's gaining representation and expression, and we've just got to keep it rolling. And that's why getting stuck in quagmires. So of that and really boundary, because otherwise you just when we're being educating of our campaigns in your fears and humbling fears of the others, your trust, this knowledge to be here, because that, if I ever take myself off, because that is my self-care, patient with this, then I'm doing good work. So that's my work to do. So locate that. Then you can be humbling and say, you know, sometimes, and usually I take a break off the internet because I get so swamped and overwhelmed. So if you want to have this conversation again, please seek me out and I'll connect with you. So it gives them an opportunity and an option to do it differently. Same as one thing. Difference is anything. Find any old different thing, you know, and then do it. So humble the fears and around the fears of others. That's where respect is born. If you cannot be humble in your fears and the fears of others, then no one will ever respect each other. And you are working from the most detrimented place. So you cannot expect people to not be fearful. That is an expectation that is beyond reality. People are fearful. That's not ever going to change. The only safety, communication, our representation. Depression, and then I did it with, if you can remember, the Russian dolls. And in depression and anxiety, because most people fear, or they're holding in, or they're getting through their robotness, they're existing in life by switching off, ignoring, putting to one side, eating shit pie for the common good. And then it gets to the point where it represents itself as anxiety or depression because you've ignored yourself for so long. So if we are able to say, I've got a human being and I must look after that human being, and my way to stress is to intrusive think. So before I ever get anxiety or depression, I would have been thinking for quite a while. So if I catch intrusive thinking, then I won't ever get to anxiety and depression because I'm allowed to not intrusively think. I'm allowed to notice it and care for it and say no to things and tell someone else. That's my biggest rule. If I notice intrusive thinking, I've got to go and tell my husband, listen to these ones, because they're not secret. Then they're not growing. Then they're not, becoming a little voice that's telling me, well, don't tell anyone about this because that's your life. I don't treat myself like that anymore. Thoughts are thoughts, and I can have scary ones, real fucking scary ones. And that's just the way my brain represents. And you're doing that ignoration, anxiety, breakdown, or are you going to let me be a human being today? Because fuck's sake. So we've got to identify, how do you represent your unwell being? What does it show in your body? How does it represent in your brain? Once you've identified it, now I did the bus of self last time as well. So identifying self is really important so that you know your conditions of worth and what to look out for, because then you can, you're an awful narcissist because, you had to as a wedding or something. The next, well, no, this weekend with my narcissistic mother and I up, and then I went home thinking that that's who I am, deserving that treatment, or that, I'm not loved, or, whatever it is. So if we can start noticing, start navigating life much easier. And the first part of noticing self is your vulnerable behind the curtains bit, which is, oh, we have intrusive when we are hormonal. We have out of that, otherwise who can you be? So you start looking up who you are. Then you're able to identify that person when they are struggling. Once you get into identify, develop skills. So my skill for looking after identifying it, noticing it, giving it to someone else, my husband who I trust, and then being in the realm of noticing, right, we've got intrusive thinking around at the moment, so let's be not hyper alert, but let's be a little bit more aware so that, oh, look at me having that daydream again. I'll distract myself and I'll first give myself a cuddle because that was a little bit, that one was a real mean one. Whatever it is. So we start navigating that, I can't change who I am, I can't change my history, I can't change what my brain's left with, and I cannot fix my spine. So here is the person, here is the body, here is the, we'll start living with that. Then once you've developed that relate, that knowledge of self, you can then communicate it, because now I know what it is, now I know how to, now I've practiced my state, I've got my boundaries, now I can have this, it feels opposite if it does this to me. I get what you're trying to do, but if you do it like this, then it's just a one does help. But when you do it like that, it's really unhelpful because I've got this. And they can go, I'm telling me, I'm really glad you did, because you realised you were allergic to peanut sandwich for your year and a half. You didn't want to upset my feelings. Well, so a jam sandwich, and you can actually, and you will get to the little bit because you actually get to it instead of throwing it away. That sort of thing. able to communicate, then you get witness, then someone you witness yourself. I don't want to do that. Today I feel like this, so it's a no. You know, when I'm on my period, like I don't like it. Oh, don't get a joke. So it's that don't joke with me, and not because don't joke with me again. It's just because right now I'm getting new role. It's just my hormones, and they will level out again. So let's not take it personally. It's a witnessed being. I'm allowed to come in and say there's not a lot of mama left today. If anyone needs me, I'm here. But just understand, like I'm 15% here, so you're not going to get the best mama out of me. But yeah, I'm here. So you know, and because people are, oh, well, that's all right. Don't worry about it. Do you want a cup of chocolate or something? Let me rub your feet for you, mama. By tomorrow, I'm super mum again, and I'm feeling really loved and cared for, and so invested in. And what do you need today? And it's my son's turn because he's doing his exams, or you know, whatever, whoever's turn. Once you get witnessed, you build up an ability to become safe. Oh, now I can trust that I'm going to be communicated. My body won't go, oh, go on, just eat shit pie because, you know, no one wants to hear this, or carry on being a robot because I won't listen to you, or no, we ignore intrusive thoughts until you have a breakdown. Don't you know that? Once your body starts realizing and you start treating it better, that it can trust you, I will listen to the intrusive thoughts, or I will hear the anxiety before I'm having a panic attack. I will put that boundary in that says, whoa, I'm feeling anxious, so I need to look after that before I have a panic attack. I'll be back with you in a minute. You know, we start actually witnessing so our body can become safe instead of permanently on this level that says, please do that when I do that. Oh, that makes sense. I didn't realise. So whose responsibility is it to make that? Is it the person who didn't? Is it us because we didn't communicate? So they couldn't ever come to understanding because they're not a bloody mind reader. That's not fair to expect. Surely I have to get better enough to be able to communicate myself. So explain to me, I visited it and now I understand what it is. So get the understanding. Once you have on, bingo, we're here. We've got belonging. Because oh, I get it. Oh wow, that is tough. And when I did that on helpful with me, I'll stop because now I get it. All you want to do is be allowed to live a life and get help for these things. In that, because well, all we want to do is punish someone that does not do it. Yeah, sorry about that. Then there's belonging. When I for once you get to belonging, you'll be nurtured. You'll get love, celebration. Will be the law that you purposefully based on to their work for humans. There will be people having confidential counselling and there not being that knee-jerk reaction. It's very specific about what you have to pass on, and it isn't you're having thoughts or feelings. It's that you're making plans to or in your care that you're my client, and let me just make sure this is what it is before I run up and destroy life with this knowledge projected all sorts through care plans, and it won't be the odd drop in the ocean of particularly passionate people people that happen to have and that help up and coming teenage maps that are and vulnerable, or between to be able to widen the gap between sexual offenders and what the how identified and get boundaries, and you're not allowed to call me that. That is stigmatization, and that's hate talk, and no one deserves that. You know, we can get to a point where people respect your effort and the level to yourself in a decrepit environment of society that's given you have to grow up. That's and it's just get to that point of wow, realize the journey. But if we start with we're going to get off our journey and out of our path and out of our actual representative wonder, we never get to our agenda, and we never get out of it because of to being a human being. We have connections, we have belonging, hobbies, we have something external to ourselves that we're connected to. We have passions, investments, celebrations of self. We have sharing with other. We have achievement with self, with other people. We have creativity, investing, and expression. They're just some of this struggle as a human being. Oh God, I didn't realise I was victimising the one that had the knowledge for curing cancer, or knew how to talk with computers to the point where we had a really good mental health thing, or could create a web space that allowed people to interact, or celebrate unique. You created a space where you can actualise and then blossom, and then wow, if only we'd realised that the one that was going to save the profile thing and let it just settle into their body and not some kind of let it just settle into their body and not feel like they're some kind of. So we want to make enjoy their very essence, so that they become their worst version of self and then feel vindicated that we ever did anything to human being, respect for human being, respect for human being. Oh, person. We've got the person we can look at, or even before look at what safety looks like. How do we represent that? And again, I would recommend reading a person-centered book if it's not my own, because that really does help you get to a point where you are a person, that you become your person, and you possess it. You know what to keep a homeostatic balance. You know what your you know how to be a person that really truly plan. You've got all these things in place. And the last thing I'm going to cover today is, because a lot of representation in where there's such a fear of being a paedophile that you are a paedophile and you get so ACD with it that you start kind of of it, and a big firing system. And I think some people get into a slippery slope where they find this representation of their sexuality and then they go on a fill the book of all the representations of it, and then they get themselves into unsafety by then following the rabbit hole down to the deepest, darkest end point. So I want to bring into line here a really good technique that helps with teaching your brain that we're going to do difference. We're going to be different with this. And just because we've always done that, and we've always felt this way about it, and everyone else feels that way about it, we can do something different with it. And if you think about habit as only taking about 21 days in the usual brain to make, it only takes 21 days to create a habit in your body where it will expect this thing now. And if we put a habit in, at the end of 21 start, like, so in line with that, we're also going to be reducing the unwell-being about 63 days. It's 3 times as long. So see it as about a 2-month process. The first 3 weeks, we're going to be really general difference. We're just putting in difference left, right, and centre because we're not doing the same. We're putting in this new well-being habit that says, I don't do that to myself anymore. I do all sorts of other things instead. After 21 days, it becomes meaningful, and it's like, I don't want cream cake, I want a break. I don't need a run, I need a bath. I don't about it, I want some sex. I don't want to, whatever. I don't want to eat, I want to talk. I want to go to my counsellor, I need to tell about that. Whatever it is, you find your way. So, really good ways, a neuroscience-based way called emotional freedom technique or tapping. And it's where you take it around your body in a different mantra, a negative mantra out of the back of your amygdala, and you replace it into your prefrontal cortex. So you teach your brain to become different with itself. So I'm going to do it with you today, and you're going to learn it. And if you want to go ahead and do it, then do. Try and do it at least once a day. If you don't want to do this, another really good way of doing it is to change your dominant hand. So I'm left-handed, so I'd have to use my right hand to brush my hair, to clean my teeth, to wipe my bum, to button up, try and button up a different way, to all these different things. Try and do it with your non-dominant hand. Learn a new instrument, learn to play a recorder, learn to drive, learn a new language, learn to do sign language. I really want to do that for a friend of mine. Learn something new so your brain switches on and off, and it's learning this new thing. But this is a really easy way to do it when you don't have to learn something new other than the sequence. So you're going to start either on your karate chop point or on the triangle point between the 5th and the 4th knuckle of your hand. Either hand, it doesn't matter. And you're just going to tap, not too hard, but hard enough to be able to feel it. And you're going to think of a statement, and I'm going to call it a thing. But the thing can be, even though I've got this headache, even though I've got this paedophilia, even though I've got this anxiety, even though I've got this intrusive thinking, even though I'm fearful, whatever it is, okay, you put that in, and it can change daily, okay? So we're going to start off, we're going to say the sentence, then we're going to take it around our body on a sequence, we're going to get to the end, we're going to do a break with our eyes, which brings on our prefrontal cortex. It uses a different part of our brain, the neuroscience, takes it out of the amygdala, stores it here. Then we're going to take it down the other side of the body, and that should seal the cognition. And then you're just going to habit form it over a 21-day process. Days, even better, because then that brings down the bad habit, which is I go and solicit hate. I go and put myself in horrible situations. I don't say no to things. I take on externals, all those sort of things. So here we go. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply, completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply, completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply, completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Eyes break, close hard, open wide, hard left, hard right, hard up, hard down, around in a circle the other way. Hum for 5 seconds. Taking it down the other side, top of eyebrow. Even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Side eye. Even though I have this thing, remain, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Under eye. Even though I have this thing, remain, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Under nose. Even though I have this thing, remain, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Chin. Even though I have this thing, remain, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Collarbone. Even though I have this thing, remain, I deeply, completely love, respect, and accept myself. Underarm. Even though I have this thing, remain, I deeply, completely love, respect, and accept myself. Side hip. Even though I have this thing, remain, I deeply, completely love, respect, and accept myself. Side finger. Even though I have this thing, remain, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Side middle finger. Even though I have this thing, remain, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Side fourth finger. Even though I have this thing, remain, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Side fifth finger. Even though I have this thing, remain, I deeply and completely love, respect, and accept myself. Outside edge. Even though I have this thing, remain, I deeply and most completely accept myself. That should do something viscerally inside you. The more you do it, the more habit it makes, the more you allow your brain to switch on and off, the more your brain will trust that it now does something different instead of do existing. It beings self. So that's the end of today's session. Sorry we went over. Can't believe I thought I was going to get through 4 sheets. What a goon. I will see you next time, hopefully. Thank you so much for sticking with me, and please contact if you have any content, any questions, any reflections, any feedback, anything. Lots of love. Mwah, 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 mwah. Keep on being gorgeous.